quickly into the game. So I think definitely a Pokemon that we will be looking at a lot in this competition, and as well as this game, it's going to be one of the key Pokemon, I would say.
Absolutely. So we're just seconds away from this starting buzzer, if we want to call it that. But of course, for those not familiar with that Delphox, you're typically looking out for that mystical fire, you know, maybe running that fire spin with it. The Fanciful Fireworks, I believe, is the name of that Unite move. So certainly we'll be seeing that come here. And that is that music, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready, because we are starting off this Pokemon Unite Blitz number 3.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about the side of Team A, but on the side of Brave Brothers, I think one of the more interesting picks that we don't really see that much is probably this Talonflame, right? I think it's a really good counter pick to Absol. It's definitely something that we don't really see because it is very squishy, but with its mobility and ability to go straight for the backlines, this Absol needs to be extremely careful against this Talonflame.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. We'll definitely notice how that plays out. That's a good thing to keep your eyes on. And definitely to note, of course, Absol going to fall very early for Brave Birders, but I would say the team Brave Birders without that Brave Bird itself, without that Talonflame, I think, you know, it would be a little bit weird, right? So I'm glad that they still stick with Colin Tang and that Talon.
Yeah, and I think on top lane, it's quite an interesting difference that we have. We do have like 2 Pokemon on top on the side of Team A, and we do see OG Was Taken being really dominant in that just now, being able to bring down 1 Pokemon on the side of Brave Brothers. So that gives them a little bit more of an advantage in this early game, and not to mention, you know, having the Sylveon at top to really pressure the top lane a lot with its very early level skills.
Yes, and if we haven't said it, my brain a little bit foggy, but Rima playing as that Espeon, the Sylveon. Oh my gosh, here we go. It's already starting, folks. I'm so sorry. I've actually had a long day, but anyway, OG was taken, charging up for that pup right now, and not going to release just quite yet, but actually with a very good, I would say, eye on everything that's going on, because that Machop was hiding out in the tall grass, waited for that moment. And now we're going to obviously see a hyperspace hole go back here with Sneaky Snake. Going to maybe make this attempt at the... wow, okay, so Rima actually going to survive that right here so far. Colin Tang hot on the pursuit, and there it is, finally brought down.
Yeah, I think, you know, A is playing very aggressively right just now. You know, Rin just going in towards the side of Brave Brothers and getting knocked out, and also Rima on the Sylveon going in for the jungle invade just allows Brave Brothers to get a little bit more EXP. I mean, there's a little bit of time that they get from that invasion and all that kind of stuff, but then I think Brave Brothers are the ones that find a little bit more value in the fight so far.
Right. And so right now, you notice that, of course, Slowbro right here for Brave Birders, running with that Scald. That's the thing, right? Because that's what we've been seeing, Slowbro coming in with this newest update. So always got to stay in touch with the shifting meta or the shifting updates to the game, and that's going to be one of them.
Yep, and I think Slowbro right here is going to be quite crucial in terms of how Brave Brothers engage in the team fights, right? Slowbro wants to be in the front line. They want to be able to sieve out the Pokemon that they want to use the Unite move on, and I think that's kind of how Brave Brothers want to engage in terms of the team fights.
Right. And speaking of those team fights, aptly timed, because we've got 1 second until that Dreadnought, ladies and gentlemen. Typical first major objective aside from those bees. It is going to be bursted down very, very quickly and go for that left side team. So Team A will go ahead and take that and then maybe get some of these KOs, but no, going to actually drop, and Colin Tang so low, finally brought down with that Midnight Slash along with another Brave Birders, and that's going to lead to a few more points dunked in.
Yep, very good engage from the side of A. They knew that they have, you know, the Lucario Power Punch. They also have Absol right there, you know, having that level already to actually get them the objective secure. I mean, Brave Brothers, they do have that Talonflame, but it has opted for Fly, so there's a little bit of a delay in terms of when they use that move, and I think A just manages to find the most value from that, getting the Dreadnought, getting some dunks in the tier 1 goal zone, and also in terms of the levels and points, they are in the lead here.
Right. We actually see a lot transpiring here on the top path too, because not only is there that 21 on the goal right here, but we do see a few more people shifting up top here. We're going to rotate, potentially head for this Rotom, but you have to wait until the time is right. So we'll obviously see this all kind of play out in front of our eyes, right? So there it goes. We're going to pick up a little bit of that Audino experience, everything else that's left, and then the bees possibly be looking for it after that.
Yep, I think A once again is right. They aren't really going for the Rotom now. I always say this, that Rotom doesn't really exist in this game until every other thing is done. So they have gotten all the farms around the area, and A, they have a very dominant positioning in terms of being at this Rotom, right? Brave Brothers do try to go in with the Talonflame, does manage to catch Pikachu, but other than that, A does manage to find Rotom and more angles to go in.
That was a good example, too, of just how deadly sometimes Colin Tang can be, typically running with the Fly Talonflame, and that's what we're seeing.
Oh,
Look,
nice.
it's another dive bomb. Yeah, exactly, just as you're saying. Very nicely done. And so Colin Tang kind of known for this over a long period of time, which is nice because, like we said earlier, the meta's shifting a lot. The updates make things shift a lot. And so here we go. We finally acquired enough points. Time about to run out on that Rotom. There we go, the 32, and then the next Dread.
Yep, and I think, we do see a lot of Unites coming in, and the fight is about to begin.
Yeah, and so there it goes. Look at it getting taken down very quickly, but Colin Tang coming in with the steal for the Brave Birder. So that second Dread will actually go for the Orange Squad right here with some drops from A.
Yeah, I think it's really nice what Brave Brothers are actually doing. They realize that, they are playing in from the back and they need to play a little bit more aggressively. They're finding very good angles to get all the objectives that they need, the Dreadnought for the EXP, and finding these singular knockouts for their side is exactly what they need to be doing right now, because they have some levels that they need to catch up on, and also the points difference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so it was good to make up some of that point difference, but you're obviously seeing A with a pretty big lead still. And so you never say never, of course. We're at the 4-minute mark here, but anything can happen in that final stretch. And so that's what we will be looking out for. But notice Slowbro. This was just deadly right there. It was triple D because it's deadly, devastating, and daring of that Slowbro to be out there. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there's another Midnight Slash going out by Rin, and he is actually going to make the pursuit right here.
Wow, this is an extremely aggressive play from the side of A. I'm not entirely sure this is the best decision, and Brave Brothers, they are able to turn the fight against A with this overextension and overstaying right now. So I think that was probably not the best decision, considering that the jump pad was already available, and Brave Bird, they respond extremely well, managing to find 3 knockouts on their side. I think they are in a good position to go for this Rotom as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're going to have to see what happens with it, because obviously as Unite happens, everybody out there, just for a little bit of insight into our job as commentators, is that Unite is one of those games that anything can happen within about 10 seconds. So often you'll be saying one thing and the opposite happens. So we noticed Colin Tang with a beautiful takedown right there, but of course the Rotom will, of course, now go to A.
Oh, that's not that big of a problem at this point, because Brave Brothers, they do have the levels and Pokemon ready to defend this. However, by defending this, it means that they probably have to give up the last Dreadnought, which will give them, essential levels that they need. But actually, right now, looking at the difference in the levels, it is quite even, and both sides, they have the levels that they need for the respective power spikes. Of course, the shield is going to help A little bit more, but Brave Brothers, they have the chance to use this time to reposition themselves for the Zapdos fight.
That will be the indicator, I think, for which team is going to win this, because A, as it stands, is looking really good. But you mentioned the levels. That was a really astute thing, because right now Brave Birders are set up, other than that level 14 there with, I think that was Rin as the Absol right today. But anyway, that Zapdos is in a 3-2-1, and we're going to start that fight right away.
Wow, it goes down so quickly. Absol just gets it so fast by the side of A.
And A will take this all the way to the bank right here. So they are probably going to dunk that in, and it looks like we're going to see those hundo dunking, ladies and gentlemen. We can start it. Yes, the cringy take that I now have of calling it hundo dunking, right? So Unite runs on hundos, and that's what's going to be happening, ladies and gents.
Yep, I think, wow, both teams did extremely well here. But I wasn't really expecting the Zapdos to go down so quickly. A just went in straight away with the PUP, and then afterwards they just bring it down so quickly with the app. So Brave Brothers just didn't have enough time once again to activate that fly on the Talonflame in order to try and steal it, I feel. And it's going to be quite hard for them to actually come back into this first game.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and we can all see it transpiring in front of us as you notice some of these pickoffs. And of course, Colin Tang is in here with that flame sweep, with those flies, trying to make that devastation happen. But we see what A has been doing this whole game, and you got a level 15, you know, Rin right here, who is actually going to fall with that, but notice all the damage that he did before being KO'd, right? There's the fanciful fireworks, though, from our new Delphox, newest entry, I would say, to the roster here. But, you know, it's just as RT-san said, what can Brave Birders do at this point for this game one?
I think what they can take is probably, you know, now that they know the strategy of A, they know that it's so important for them to be early for the objectives, and that, you know, A is going to burst it down so quickly. So they probably can find a way to counter the strategy that A has kind of put up in this match, and hopefully that will bring us to like a game 3 as well.
That's definitely a good point. We will wait and see that to happen, but here we go with that final countdown, ladies and gents. Let's try to just maybe one foot in front of the other, I guess is what they say, right? One step at a time here. We'll see, of course, that the time is up for game number 1. And so, RT-san, we'll obviously wait for this breakdown, but I think you and the viewers at home are going to know what the result was of this matchup. A victory for A, and once again, as we await, I actually kind of expected it to go a little sooner than this, so I'm filling some time right here. We hear the sounds, but I like to call out the score right here, and there it is. It's 660 to 233.
Yep, I think both sides did extremely well for this first game of round 3. I think A had a very strong dominant start to the game, but you know, Brave Brothers, they were able to kind of come back into the mid to late game a little bit, but they were just a little bit too late for the Zapdos fight. Probably didn't realize that A was gonna go straight for it and bust down so quickly in that kind of fashion with Rin on that Absol, and I think that was kind of like where they kind of like lost the game.
Definitely good analysis from RT-san. You guys have heard it here. We'll probably talk a little bit more after seeing this, but just to note, you saw Colin Tang with that 65K. I mean, this is what he's known for with that, the Talonflame. Why am I getting mixed up already? But yeah, the Talonflame play. So it was centered around that fly, of course, but also usually pretty good with that Flame Sweep. And the Flame Sweep does, I think, what we all know. It's this obvious push. So if you have everybody kind of swarming your goal, let's say, it's that obvious mechanic to push it off and maybe defend from that goal for a little while. So it's good for that use. Colin Tang pulls it out for there. Sometimes too, maybe move an objective to your side if you want to use it that way too. You know, you might push a Rotom over to your side, get the advantage there. It's just things like this. So if there's anything else that's on your mind about how that game went, I think that this is the time we can discuss it, RT. You know, it's as you called it though, because it was just so largely reliant on that early game. A got a lot of points in, right? And you noted it very well that the Brave Birders were trying to make this comeback, and they were kind of mounting that comeback slowly. It's just obviously the Zapdos went in favor of Team A.
Yeah, I think definitely the team compositions wise, both of them are actually really well thought out. I think Brave Brothers, they really thought about how to kind of counter this Absol, but unfortunately, I think if we want to see them go into a third game, I think what they need to take care of and think about is probably how they want to engage in the team fight. They have the Delphox that allows them for a little bit more sustainability, and it kind of counters Hoopa as well as Blissey in terms of the heals, but we didn't really get to see a lot of that in the game just now. So I think it's going to be very crucial that they be the aggressors in the second game. They find the angles, to find these knockouts onto the side of A, and make sure that, you know, the Absol doesn't come online so soon, because it comes online very early in the game at level 5, but then once it scales down in the late game if it doesn't get the level. So they need to try and prevent that, and I think the way that they can do it is to take very strong team fights, because they do have that Slowbro, they do have that Delphox, they do have that Talonflame to finish everything off. So it's probably just more about how they engage in team fights than anything else. Yes,
and special treat to anybody that can see it. Yes, that is my son back there. It's the joys of like remote, you know, beaming us in here remotely and everything. That is him playing with Pokemon toys. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, gonna say hi, of course, to our chat. Beautiful people here. The Assassin Nathan, you are absolutely right. The Zap play was fast. And we see Gatlu right here saying Dr. Kendo Gaming. We're also joined by RT-san today. I would say guest commentator, but hey, like feature commentator, really doing a great job. So what do you see here on the team comp?
Well, I think they are going for a very similar team composition. I think they realize that, you know, like I said, it's not about the team composition as much. It's really about how they engage in the team fights, and I think that's what we want to see from the side of Brave Brothers. And for A, they just need to play consistently as how they did in the first game.
That's what we'll be looking for, everybody. And just to put another idea in your heads, for the viewers at home, really, is what is going to be is the slow bro the right pick? You know, I think RT and I were saying it's a pretty good pick right there, and they were, of course, using the new Scald and taking advantage of that. But we're going to have to see, will this be kind of the good defender here for this team? Will it be that good tank? And so we're just mere moments away, ladies and gents. So Pokemon Unite, Arcway Blitz number 3, Game 2, here we go with that ready go happening in mere moments.
Yes, and game 2 is just about to begin. I think we are kind of looking at the team comps once again. I think it's going to be a similar strategy, and of course I think Hoopa being on the side of Brave Brothers and not on the side of Team A, it means that, you know, the rotations are going to be quite different from both sides, and they definitely have Team A definitely has to respond much faster because they don't have a Pokemon to bring them to objectives as fast as they can with the Hoopa on the side of Brave Brothers.
Definitely right. And so here with this early game, you notice Rin obviously coming out for that steal, and we'll get it, but then we'll drop, and that's what RT and I are kind of chuckling about right here. It was a definitely good attempt, though, you know, and just for it being said, you know, I think it's often good to verbalize this. It's just so it's not a jarring experience for our viewers. The Brave Birders are now purple, and A is now orange, so we do flip those team sides, so just so that's known.
Yep, and yeah, I think, you know, Absol Rin with his, you know, very aggressive gameplay, I think he is using that time to kind of stack up his probably attack weight, and he did manage to get one dunk in before actually going down, so maybe that's kind of his strategy. He knows that he needs that kind of dunks in to get the attack weight up, and that's what they need for them to skill better into the late game.
That's right. You saw actually OG was dropping a little bit low here too. So we're seeing just kind of these back and forth trading these blows, and obviously waiting for those bigger objectives here before the main objective of Dreadnought. But, you know, it's generally, of course, focused around that Combi and Vespiquen. We all see Pikadiff taking those hits as a Blissey should right here. And that's right when that Audino pops up. They are all contesting for that. And so Rin even coming into the mix right here. There we go. So going to try to push Brave Birders back, and it looks like as RT, you can hear her kind of with those gasps, those sighs, you know, that's what happens. A pushes them all back and gets those dunks.
Yep, this is the level lead that we were talking about in the first game, right? A just plays so aggressively, don't give enough space at all to Brave Brothers to actually come into this game. I think at the top lane, it's still not evolved, right? It's still a Fennekin and bot lane as well with the F, so it's just very hard for Brave Brothers to find any engage onto the side of on A.
Yeah, that was a little bit, you have to wonder what happened right there. Of course, Rin is going to make clean work and punish it, but you notice OG drop right there, and it was just sort of strange again because we saw OG sort of stand still on top of that goal, you know, instead of trying to maybe get back, maybe fight back, whatever it might be. So I don't know if there was just some technical difficulty, controllers and things like that, but could be. Either way, of course, Brave Birder sent on the run after it. So now we've got that next Combi and Vespiquen served up on a silver platter for us here. We're going to see kind of a nice surge of XP and points that can come from that, and obviously the hyperspace hole on the goal for the Brave Birders can drop down some people for this Dreadnought rotation, but notice who did stay up top on there.
Yep, I think they definitely need to try and find a way to bring their levels up. They need to be extremely careful because it's a level 9 Absol, and wow, that just cleared them so fast.
Yeah, you're right about the Absol, because now, just as you're saying it, getting up to level 10, and so dropping into 32, I mean, this is looking really, really deadly, and so RT's calling it like it is, you guys, because we're just noticing how aggressive the play is. That's the best word for it. I mean, look at this. We got those Unite moves popping, so the Hydro Typhoon was popped right on top of that goal. Colin Tang is trying to put the resistance all by himself with that Fly, Talonflame, obviously feeling the dangers of that and being sent on the run.
Yeah, I think A definitely knows their position in this game right now is one that is really strong. Wow, but at the same time, you know, Colin Tang, he is a really strong player on this Talonflame, as we've seen before, and he's making a lot of big decisions for his team. And at the same time, you know, while all of that was happening, Nightmare is already at level 9, so A has to be a little bit more careful as well.
We're even seeing the chat echo those sentiments, though. That's Assassin Nathan saying, dang man, Absol is so strong right now, and you are right, because when you look at that level comparison, we're almost talking double the level of some of these players on Brave Birders, unless they can pick it up right here.
Yeah, they definitely need to find a way to get all the EXP that they need. But once again, A, with their aggressive play, is not going to give them any space at all. They are contesting for every single farm that is the Bees, and even going towards the side of Brave Brothers' goal zone. So it's extremely hard for them to actually do anything at this point. They just need to really play patiently, I would say, find the right angles to find any knockout, and that is probably the only way that they are going to be able to get those EXP that they need to come back into this game.
Oh, I hear you on that. I mean, we're also seeing the Delphox. We're still just stuck at this level 7 currently. We got to get some experience somewhere. Maybe those KOs, maybe those wilds, whatever it might be. But while that's all going on, you know, you're really still making up lost ground when you're in that position. Rima now sent on the run because Colin Tang coming in with the fly out of nowhere and then just going to pick him off right here. And we are obviously now looking at that Dread, which is going to be taken very, very quickly, right, RT? Because A is going to take that one as well.
Yep, I think without the level 9 on the Hoopa, Brave Brothers just don't really have that advantage of the rotations, so they find more value finding just getting the farm around the entirety of the map instead, and not taking any of the team fights at all. So this is a pretty good knockout for the side of Brave Brothers, I must say.
Definitely so, and they're gonna need it. And in our chat right here, we are blessed with a very familiar face around here, which would be Kanashi, saying they are shredding Dread. And that's right, the Dreaded got shredded. So here we go. We got the aura cannons. We do have, of course, the rings unbound pots right here for Brave Birders, so they can bring anybody up here for this team fight as they need. And notice what it's done, giving them that advantage, making RT gasp, and that's what it's all about, right, folks? Now, of course, Blastoise being that lone member to hold it down here for A, and will actually do some damage with it.
Well, we talked about just now how Brave Brothers need to play this game in order to come back, and I think that engage on A right there was exactly what they needed to do. They find so much value just getting 4 knockouts. I mean, they lose a little bit, they lose the Rotom, they lose a bit of the Pokemon on their side, but I mean, look at the levels now. It is more or less even between both sides, and even though there's point difference, I think they definitely have an angle back into this game, right? If they continue to take the fights the way they did with that one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we not only saw the dreaded shredded Dread, but we now see the Rotom go for A, and so it's looking to snowball a little bit. And I will say that this is not outside of the realm of a comeback if you get the Zapdos, if you're the Brave Birders. Now, you can also make up some points in between then. It's just, you see what kind of a tall order that is, right? You know, you've seen how aggressive A has been playing all the way up until now. It's not going to be the easiest of things, but you've got another Dreadnought, and then you have that Zap.
Yeah, I mean, right now A has a strategy of going for this Dreadnought, but it seems like Brave Brothers have a strategy of their own. They are going for the top lane, getting some dunks in, getting the EXP without taking the team fights, because they know that A plays so aggressively, right? And I think from this point on, even if they don't want to take this Dreadnought, what Brave Brothers need to do is probably search for this Absol before the Zapdos fight actually happens. And from once you bring down this Absol, I feel like they have a better angle into taking the team fights as well as taking the objective. So that is probably how they want to play.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad that you brought that up because, you know, the Absol is going to be very key here, but also you called it too with the top path because Brave Birders really did need that boost right there. They did break that top path goal, but notice that there's still the T1 there on the bottom. So if they did get that zap, they have a very close goal still up for them. So that's going to look pretty good if you are Brave Birders getting a Zapdos. And now the point differential is not as huge. So let's see what happens with that 1 second left, and that's the final stretch.
And once again, they just take the Zapdos so quickly. I mean, Colin Tan on that Talonflame does manage to find the Absol a little bit, but it's just not enough to bring it down. And because it was still alive with its fluffy tail, it's just able to clear the Zapdos so quickly. And with that, able to take a 2-0 victory against Brave Brothers.
Yes, so I think Team A knows, and you guys know it as well. Yeah, Unite runs on Hundos, right? So it's Hundo Duncan right there, and only one before we see that surrender. So Brave Birders knew it, and so here we go with that final score now with that surrender, a 394 to 263. But definitely look at who's wearing the crowns on each of these teams.
Yes, I think Marchand definitely deserves the MVP for Team Brave Brothers. I think that team fight engaged right there, managing to get 4 knockouts onto the side of A was extremely good, and from that point, you know, they actually had an angle back into this game. Just unfortunately, it all kind of came down to the Zapdos fight once again. Rin with the Absol just manages to survive and just clear out the Zapdos so quickly in the second game.
Yeah. Also, look at the 77k on that damage dealt from Rin, who's also going to get those 15 KOs. I mean, there's a reason Rin is wearing the crown over there. Is that absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, not just that, 77,000 damage by this app. So he is doing a lot for his team. I think really from the early game as well, all the way towards the end as well. So it's all about knowing what objectives to go for. And Rin definitely is one a player who does know what